G'day and welcome to another episode of the Ministry Downunder Webcast. I'd like to welcome back Karen. Hi Karen.
Hi everyone.
Cool. And we've got some guests today from Dayspring, up in Sydney I could say. So we've got Joel Wiseman and we've got Chloe Somerfield. Hi guys.
Yeah, welcome guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
No worries. So let's introduce ourselves a little bit. So Joel, what do you get up to during the week generally?
Well, I am the worship director, creative director guy, whatever you want to call it, at Dayspring Church in Sydney. And I'm married. I have 3 kids. We're expecting another kid in September.
Ooh.
So I
If
feel
you're
like,
allowed out. Yeah.
I feel like going to 4 kids is just going to be a brave new world.
Yep.
I've got to buy a new car and
Oh yeah,
all
absolutely.
that stuff. I feel like I'm, going to some next level. Just being completely outnumbered by children. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, nice.
So,
Yep. Okay. I was going to go across to Chloe just quickly.
Yeah.
So what do you get up to during the week? What do you do for?
Yeah, good question. So I did have a full-time job prior to Corona. So aside from all things music and worship related, I was working in team building events, which was really fun.
Wow,
Really
nice.
awesome. Yeah. So that's been pretty good. And I'm also married, no kids, but I do have a cat, and his name is Taz.
Oh,
and,
nice.
and he's pretty cute. He's very vocal, and he's probably like a dog in a cat's body.
There you go.
Yeah.
There are many of them around.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So Joel, you and Chloe lead worship down over at Dayspring. So tell us about the style of worship that you guys kind of engage in over there.
Chloe, do you want to take that one?
Oh.
You can say your part and then I'll say my part.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
was gonna say
Nice.
we can tag team it. What's the style?
Or how do you approach worship? Like when you come to bring worship to your congregation and to the internet and the world now, where do you start from? Like what is the heart of where you're coming from?
Yeah, this is gonna test my memory on our church vision and. But honestly, what I was gonna say is our primary purpose is always to lead people into an encounter with Jesus. And for as long as I've been part of Dayspring, which was 2011, ever since I came into the building, I could feel the value for protecting the presence of God and not rushing through necessarily our worship time or any part of the service for that matter. So I'd say our approach has just always been to lead people in an encounter, whether that's face-to-face, we're all in the same room, or now it's, we're having to adapt in how we lead that experience and facilitate that digitally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm like hitting it right, Joel, but you can probably tag in. But yes, I would say like it's in terms of like our style, it's first and foremost, I think it's ministering to Jesus and bringing people into that experience to encounter him in that process.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. You did well. You did great.
Thank you for throwing that one, Mike.
No,
We need to have a
Chloe
meeting, but we'll be right.
I've been leading you
No, that's fine.
for a while.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, that's good. Can you give us a bit of background about Dayspring Church and
Yeah, for sure.
like where you're located? How many do you have in attendance roughly? And
Yeah. Well, okay. So we're in the hills area in Sydney.
Yep.
And we've got, I'd say, 400-ish. I'm pretty terrible with numbers, to be honest with you. Like, I'd look at a room full of people and go, "Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's like 100 people," and my wife would be like, "It's like 300 people."
Yeah, I was going
I
to say,
like that.
Anyway.
seems like more than 400 to me when I saw it.
Well, I mean, at the moment, everybody is, spread out in their homes across, everywhere. Which is kind of fun. But I've been at Dayspring for about 28 years, so I've seen it go through a lot of transitions, a lot of changes, a lot of growth, a lot of just a lot of journey. And we've always, like Chloe was saying, always had such a high value for Holy Spirit and protecting the presence of God, and it not being about program, and it really being about actually meeting Jesus and in that place, and we've really been digging into. So in terms of history, Karen, you asked about history. We started out as a church in a lounge room, in the founding pastor's lounge room.
Yeah.
And that, grew and grew and grew. They joined the Vineyard for a time, for quite a few years, and then became an independent church. And now the senior pastors, David and Narelle Crabtree, are living in the States, in Colorado, and they're doing, sort of itinerant teaching and that sort of stuff around the States. And we have amazing pastors now. David and Narelle are also.
Yeah.
But we've got some amazing pastors now that were originally from Newcastle.
Okay.
Aaron and Kristen Williamson. And it's been an amazing, beautiful, honestly, I'm trying to get them to write a book about the transition process, because it was just so well done. Like, just so beautiful, so honouring of David and Narelle. Like, Aaron and Kristen said, okay, so we're now the senior pastors, but the first thing that we're going to do, or like it was like 3 years, I think, is what were the things that David and Narelle had on their heart that they didn't get time to see fulfilled, and let's do that, and then figure out what the church looks like under our leadership. And so we're now just in that next phase of they actually did see those things come to fruition, and now we're in, what does it look like under their leadership? And the thing that they're really pressing in for is this idea that revival looks like family. It doesn't look like conferences. It doesn't look like, protracted meetings. While maybe that's part of it, and it's definitely been part of revival history for sure. But here and now, we really believe that revival looks like family, and we're feeling it, especially now, being all in our own homes. Like we have a night, like a going deeper worship night, where it's just stripped back, acoustic sort of style, and it really digs into kind of the intercessory space, and it's beautiful because now we're streaming it into people's lounge rooms, and there's this sense of like we're worshiping in our neighborhood, and we're praying for the houses that are literally to our left and right. It's not like it's not like we're gone to church and we're like, hey, let's pray for this suburb or that suburb, or well, that's great, and I'm obviously not discounting any of that. It's all awesome, but there's just something, I don't know, it's just something special about, hey, let's pray for our literal neighbours right now.
That's great. So when do you stream them on? Is there a particular night, or
the first Sunday night of the month we do those nights, and then
I need to write that in my diary.
We'll put some links below as well, so everyone else can jump in.
Yeah, cool.
If you're streaming.
And the Sunday service is 9:30 on a Sunday.
Cool.
So over Easter, I saw a 3-part song video series that you put out. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how the team put that together and where that came from?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start, and Chloe, you can jump in on anything I've missed.
Sure.
Yeah, so it started out as getting the team together, and we're like, we really want to celebrate Easter because it's celebrating the death and resurrection of Jesus, and while Christmas seems to get a lot of press, largely probably because people are trying to make money from it, like, let's be honest. Whereas, the death and resurrection of Jesus is everything. Obviously coming to earth is a really big deal. But him dying for us and raising again and bringing us into his resurrection is, it's the cornerstone of our Christian faith. And so we're like, what do we want? How could we celebrate it? And we got around my dining room table and threw a few ideas around, and what we ended up with was like, what if we did a cohesive piece that spanned from Jesus' death to his resurrection, from Good Friday, Holy Saturday to Resurrection Sunday, and make them three separate kind of movements that like go across the journey. And we were like, that sounds like a really cool idea, and we've only got 2 months to make it happen.
Nice.
But kudos to our team. Like, we actually pulled it off, and yeah, I'm super proud of our team because we actually, the first project that we were actually able to do everything in-house except for mastering. We sent it to Sweden to get mastered, but everything else, the production and the writing, everything done by our team. So I'm proud dad moment.
And that's a collaboration of staff and volunteers and all sorts of people.
Yeah, predominantly volunteers. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So the three parts of the three movements of the piece. Can you talk to some of those?
Chloe, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So we've titled them three movements. Movement 1 is the sacrifice. Movement 2 is the waiting, and movement 3 is victory. And so, I think Joel can probably talk more into the production of it because I wasn't part of creating the music, but we really wanted to capture the emotion of each day as well, because I know we talk about the resurrection and often over Resurrection Sunday and our Easter programs across churches everywhere. A lot of the time the story is all intertwined into one song, and I think some of the challenge was, okay, how do we talk about the sacrifice on day one without it sounding too heavy or because it was huge, like the weight that Jesus was feeling before he was about to be handed over, and we're like, we want to go there. We want people to feel that weight, that he was literally carrying the weight of sin of the world, but we don't want it to sound really like depressing either. And so I think the guys, Sam Hornshaw and Josh Field, who are also part of it, they did an incredible job of acknowledging the weight of each movement in the piece, but still everything has a thread of hope and excitement, because I think really the death and resurrection of Jesus is an evergreen subject. I think that's the whole reason why we have salvation. It's the whole reason in our communion with God. So we can never really get tired of giving it airspace, really.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that was I'd say one of the fun and challenging parts is giving weight to each movement in the piece. Did you want to add anything, Joel? Or?
Yeah, so movement 2, I was talking to Dan Carrots from C3 Oxford Falls about the concept, and he was like, oh, that's a really cool concept. He's like, what do you do with Saturday? That's like the awkward middle day where nothing was happening.
Yeah, the middle child.
Yeah.
It's different too, because I guess we as a church have predominantly only done worship songs or congregational songs, so this was a really new space that we entered into in terms of it being instrumental and really experimental.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So we decided to make the second movement an instrumental because it was like, how can we communicate waiting?
Yeah.
And we thought, yeah, the best way to do that was without words. And
Oh, nice.
it's kind of, it's the thing that I think is beautiful about music is people bring their own story and their own history with God to listening to it, and particularly with an instrumental piece, that's definitely, going to happen, which I think is awesome. And so I'm more sharing, I guess, my perspective of what I think the narrative of the second movement is, because I think everyone's going to bring their own perspective to it. But for me, it's kind of like Jesus' perspective of the waiting, because it starts out pretty kind of forlorn and really, it's kind of like our hero has just died. So it sort of starts from our perspective, but then it starts to move and grow in intensity and that sort of thing. And it's kind of the sense that I get is like what was happening, in the spirit as Jesus was doing all the stuff that Scripture sort of hints at. That, like it says that he went down to hell and he led captives in his train and all this kind of stuff. We don't really have very clear pictures of what that looked like or what was going on there, and so I just kind of picture this. There's all this like activity going on, and then at the end of the movement, it's kind of like I know that he was in a tomb, he wasn't underground, but the kind of mental image.
I know what you're going to say.
Bursts out of the ground, kind of, sort of thing. Like the tomb opens and he like comes out, and then we're into the third movement, which is all about like that he is resurrected and that he is the Lamb that was slain, and yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So each of the movements, the three movements, were they put together by three different sort of groups of people? Because they are three stylistically different pieces. So.
Yeah. So we have a group of about 10 songwriters at Dayspring
nice.
now. Yeah, we've been developing that songwriting culture for a few years now, and I really wanted to throw it out to the whole crew, like, hey, here's this concept. We've only got 2 months. Go, And so there was a whole bunch of different ideas thrown around, and something that I love about the songwriting culture that we have is there's a real freedom to go into, like, some people call it open mode. We call it creator space versus editor space. Sort of creator space is like anything goes. You're pushing boundaries. You're, you're exploring stuff. You're not. No one is saying no to any ideas. It's all of the like
green light,
kind of a space. Like, yeah, that's cool, and that sort of makes me think of blah blah blah, and that bad idea, to be brutally honest, like gives birth to a great idea because there's the freedom to just come up with anything. And then the editor mode is where you do actually evaluate the value of the idea and, is that even going to work? And, and so something I love is we've really kind of developed those two spaces, where like the editor never crashes the creator party, and it's not the creator's job to dream and scheme when the editor's like chopping stuff off and optimizing and all that kind of stuff. But once the editor has done that, and he's like, okay, I've gone as far as I can go. Now, creator, I've given you a whole bunch of problems to solve. Go nuts, and then it sort of bounces backwards and forwards. And so it's definitely that sort of a process where it started out with, we've got this concept and we just have to write as many ideas as we can. And so there was a few ideas thrown around, and we finally landed on one of them. And we definitely had the approach of, okay, we're going to build this side of the bridge and then build this side of the bridge, this being movement 1, this being movement 3, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to get from this one to this one. but the writing really of Movement 3, I wrote all the lyrics for it, and we recorded. I sang on that one, and we recorded the lyrics on, I forget what day it was. Let's just call it Friday, and then we entered the mix space on Saturday, and then at that stage, verse 1 was the same as verse 2, like it was just repeated, and and when we were mixing, I was like, it needs, it's worthy of a second chorus. Like it needs to be more of the story told, and so I was like, all right, Jesus, please, I basically, you have to, and it's a partnership, right? It's not, I don't believe that God just sort of goes, any good idea that has ever been had is just God just dumping it on someone. I think of the analogy the best analogy I've heard is Adam in the Garden of Eden. God made everything, but he wanted Adam to name the animal because he wanted it to be part of the creative process. So, yes, God drops ideas on us, but he generally drops them on us in seed form, and then it's our job to sort of craft and work and water those ideas until they're an actual work, an actual painting, an actual song, an actual something that you can put in front of somebody. So I'm like, Jesus, please give me something, and ended up, finishing penning it. I think it was like 2 a.m. and then I recorded at 10 a.m. the next day. So it was something refreshing and beautiful about being that dependent, because like the deadline was coming. It was like, if you don't give it to me, then I'm not going to be recording it. So
So how is that?
Kind of fun, kind of stressful.
So how is that different? Like you've been talking about how over time you build a process for writing songs within Dayspring and with the team. How do you do that? Like, do you do that on creative nights? Do you have getaways? And how different is what you've just done to writing for another album, say, like the last album?
Really different. Really quite different. Yeah, Chloe, do you want to speak to what we've historically done?
Yeah. So we've had 3 now, I think. So we started doing songwriting retreats a couple of years ago, and slowly we've had more and more writers that have matured in their process, and they're starting to feel confident sharing their ideas and stuff, and so that's slowly been growing, and they're something that we do once a year. We've also encouraged like collaborating as well, and just taking that initiative to meet up with someone, whether it be in person or over Skype or Zoom, and doing collabs. We've done the songwriting thing now for a few years, and that's really helped produce a lot of the songs that have been on our last couple of albums and EPs.
Yep. This
project was very different from the sense that we didn't have the content yet, but we're like, this is what we want to do, this is what we feel God is on, now we need to create it. So we've never ever done that before until now, and I think it was just awesome to see that this is also a strength that we have. So we write to then share it, I guess through like congregational worship and Sunday worship, and then we also have like, I guess, projects and themes that will come up to that we've now proven to ourselves that we can do that as well. So but the majority of the songs prior to this project have all been either like we've written them outside of the retreat, or we've brought them and finished them at songwriting retreats, and then we've looked at all the ones that are like, which ones are strong, which ones do we want to put on our albums or our EPs, and we've gone from there.
And we've also typically run the songs on Sundays to to go, is this leading people in worship or not? Because sometimes it's difficult to tell. Thankfully, the one that we just did is. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult to tell. Like you write something, you're like, yeah, I really feel like this is gonna lead people into an encounter, and then you
Yeah.
do it, I'm like, yeah, it didn't really work out, or the opposite is true. Like there's a song on our Room for You EP where I listened to the song. Sam Lonshaw wrote it, and I was like, I literally said these words. I was like, man, that's a beautiful song. It's a pity it's not congregation. And then I showed Aaron, our senior pastor, and I said that same sentence, and he just was like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's try it. And so it's funny. Sometimes you just don't know until you actually try it on.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, cool. So you've got a series of songwriters, and you go through a process. What sort of process do you go through? Like at the moment, are your writers sitting at home writing, or is it more of a deliberate process where you say, all right, let's start a process towards a new album?
It's both and.
Yep.
Yeah. It's both and. Like we're always writing because I think as writers, I think we have to write to stay sane and to process our journey with God. You know, it's a big part of how we relate to God, and then part of my process is actually asking, okay, so I've written this half song, is that just between me and God, or is that meant for other people as well? And if I feel like God says, this is for the church, then I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's get to work making this an actual song. So and then there's the other side of the coin where with our songwriting retreats, we'll go, okay, guys, we've got the retreat coming up on this date. So, creatives hate deadlines but need them.
Yeah, that's true.
So part of the purpose of the songwriting retreat is really just to create a date in the calendar where you need to have some songs to bring to the retreat so that we can work on them. And then sometimes, songs at the retreat will just come from nothing, just from scratch. But that's more rare, I think. There's usually at least a seed of an idea that's brought to the songwriting session that then becomes something.
Yeah. Because the idea is that we're always, and they'll kind of point to this, like we're always honing our craft, and we're not necessarily writing to get our songs on these albums. Like I think songwriters, if you're a songwriter regardless, and sometimes you're writing songs that are just for you and the Lord, or sometimes you're writing songs that are for your local church, and maybe they might go beyond your local church, but the idea is that Joel's worked really hard at training and upskilling the team of songwriters just in honing that craft and making it like a constant practice. Like it's not just a once a year thing where we all get together, but really laid down like some principles and foundations to help us keep cultivating, which has been awesome.
Is that like a culture that flows down from Dayspring into the team, like that? Like kind of like supporting people in their giftings where they're at and saying, come together as writers and we'll really push into your gifts?
Oh, I don't know. Joel's, ever since I started coming to the church, I know Joel's been a songwriter. And I think I was a songwriter before I came into the church, but I was in my very not premature, but like my little baby stage, my infant stage of songwriting. And so being part of the team, like Joel definitely drew that out of me. So I definitely say that there's this thing of like nurturing and fostering gifts, and when we recognize strengths of people in our team, like we want to celebrate it and we want to make room for it. And I think, I just sing Joel's praises when it comes to songwriting. Like I feel like he's really cracked it open for so many of us and helped us to like explore and to do the risky stuff, and because songwriting can be a really vulnerable process and it can also be like a really hard process, but it's also really rewarding, and I think Joel's demonstrated like that whole scope to us as writers. So that's been really encouraging.
Ah, cool. So you've got the words written down, and then you've taken that to a music / production team. Where does that sit within your team? Like, as far as the musical side and that, does that sit as part of the writing process, or
Yeah, for sure. It's like sometimes people say, what comes first, the music or the lyrics? Like, the answer is just yes. Like it's different every time.
Yep.
It really depends on the writer, the situation, the season that they're in, who they're writing with, what they're writing about, all of that kind of stuff changes every time. But oftentimes it's a melting pot of all at the same time, kind of thing. Yeah.
So it could be a journey of, like, even a musician's journey of a sound they've got in their, like, private kind of practice or worship time, and they're bringing that to the team, and you're embracing that.
Yeah. Coming back to what you were saying before, Chris, something in terms of celebrating people's gifts and that sort of thing. I guess the language that I'd give to it is celebrating the unique thing that God has on different people's lives, in terms of, so both Chloe and I had the opportunity the best analogy that I can give for this is, Chloe and I both had the opportunity to go to Bethel's Songwriting retreat, and over there was, I don't know, it's like 600 people that applied and only 30 people got in. It was a massive honour, in like a small room with, your Brian and Jen Johnsons and your Stephanie Gretzingers and your Jeremy Riddles and all these amazing people that we greatly love and respect. Yep. And being able to actually have conversations with them and see them interact with each other.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really picked up from that and has been, I think, if I've heard people describe Dayspring as Bethel in Australia, so like if you kind of
never have done that.
If you know the Bethel culture, then obviously we're a different church. So you wouldn't walk into Dayspring and go, "Oh, it's Bethel in America, not just in Australia." It's different people. It is a different culture, but it's kind of like, if you were going to try and say this is like that is people that love that. And one of the things that I recognized with the Bethel artists is that Brian is not trying to be like Stephanie, and Stephanie's not trying to be like Brian. If anything, Brian's saying, I need a Stephanie in my life, and Stephanie's saying, I need a Brian in my life. Brian is very structured, very, just really structured and not, I wouldn't say methodical, but he's just got like, he's a real systems kind of guy. And then Stephanie is, head in the clouds, really artsy, everything is like, filled with this poetic, mellifluous language and, all this kind of stuff. And they're not trying to get in each other's lanes. They're like, I'm celebrating that you are that, and this guy's celebrating that she is that, and just going, we're stronger together. What's the point of trying to compete or be jealous when if we bring all of ourselves to the table, then the church is, be stronger, be built up.
Yeah, I think you can see that through their videos, the eclectic nature of all the different clips. It's like completely from everything from country through to pop, there's a real eclectic mix there, over the years even. So in your team itself, of writers, some up front, some behind the scenes, an eclectic mix like that as well?
Yeah. I'd say almost all of our worship leaders, right? And then we've also got other people on team that are, electric guitarist or a drummer or whatever, sound guy that also write. And yeah, it's never been it's just the worship leaders that are writers. It's really just been whoever's passionate to put the work in, because it's actually hard work. It's easy to start a song, real easy.
Yep.
But it's hard to finish a song, and it's even harder to finish a great song. So people kind of like go, oh, I'd love to do that. And I'm like, awesome. All right, well, let's go on the journey. And then some people end up going, yeah, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. And that's fine, like.
Yep.
And then there are some people that are just really hungry, and it's just a part of who they are.
So Chloe, like, I think you've written a few songs that are on the albums and stuff like that from some of the interviews I've watched. So what's one of your favourite songs that you've written, or what's one of the ones that really gave you a lot of joy or peace or something? Like, what was a highlight song for you that out of your collection?
Oh man, I Speaks On You always has a pretty special place in my heart, because that was written out of like just personal journey. I won't bore you with the details, but he's going through the mind.
Oh, please do. That's all right.
It's just the time when you're just realizing that you're drifting in your thoughts, and your mind is fixated on other things that are just not the Lord. And then it starts to get a bit shaky, and then you just find yourself sort of getting caught up in the cares of the world, and it's just kind of that song reminds me of the verse about in Hebrews, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the champion of our faith, and just him being our fixed point. So that's got a special place in my heart. And I would also say one that Joel and I wrote together, Jesus You're Beautiful, which is on the same album, Wave Upon Wave. It's just something about that song that's just, I just think it really ministers the Lord. And one of my goals in worship, leading and songwriting, is I just want people to feel so free to express themselves and express their worship to God, that they're not thinking about what they look like or how they sound. And I feel like that song really helps lead people deep into that place to minister to the Lord. And but I mean, it's hard when you write songs. They're all so awesome, and
that's right,
they all take so much energy and so much of your time. So they're not, you don't treat them like they're your babies, even though people have used that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I've labored over each of them that has my name on it, and so I'm like, they're all really important in different ways. But
Cool.
But they're probably up there in my top.
Okay, cool. What about you, Joel?
My favourite Chloe song is it's probably Great I Am.
I love that song. I love it.
It's amazing.
That's
really
also I really love the verse and the bridge of that.
And I also love her voice, just how it kind of it just rolls. It's just, and you play it before every service at the moment, and I'm just tuned in, just going, play it again. Right? It's so good, So it's just, one thing I've always loved about Dayspring's music is it's very immersive. It's it allows you to, just, I don't know, dwell in the music and be with God personally. So it's not sometimes in worship you feel like you're in a group and you're worshiping together, and it's almost like in some ways you can get right down to a personal level. And and I'm like, that's one thing I love about that, is because it brings God's grace back to me to fill me up again, and then I can go again, and that's one thing I love about worship and music in the Christian space especially, is that I can do that. And quite often I'm a computer programmer, so, and I'm a bit artistic, but I love to play tunes in the background just to as I'm programming, and it just renews my mind, and I'm able to just glide through my code. So it's I love that, especially about Dayspring. Like Dayspring, and I think even a bit, I think you could say even a bit Bethel, but with Dayspring, I've got a connection because like I used to go there like 15 years ago as well, so I've got that connection with the grace and teaching of Dave and Narelle as well. So so how much does that teaching that comes from the leadership? How much of that ends up in songs, like in a timely way, so to speak? So are some of the songs a timely reminder of where the church was at a certain point?
Yeah. I think the thing that I think is amazing about churches writing their own songs is it's difficult not to do that, because your own people are part of that family, part of that culture, part of that journey, part of where God has brought you from and where He's taking you.
Yep.
But it's difficult not to have that creep into the song.
Yep.
And so I think that there really is something powerful about local churches writing their own songs because of that reason.
Yep.
Because and when you hear a local church singing a song that they have written, it just feels like there's just extra grace on it somehow.
Yep.
Because it's the story of that people, and then sometimes that song is also resonating with other communities, and then it goes beyond you, and that's great, and if it can serve other churches in that way, then that's awesome. But I think primarily I encourage our guys to write for our own people because of that, like it's we're immersed in that culture of grace and the prophetic and seeing people healed by the power of God, and that all gets in there, and
Yep.
sort of giving language, giving expression to our culture. I think it's difficult not to do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Where can people get Dayspring songs and albums from, Joel?
Yeah, so I mean, in the digital age that we're in, it's kind of just wherever music is sold, Apple Music, Spotify, all those platforms. If you go to dayspringworship.com.au, that has the links to the YouTube videos and all of the different platforms that you can find the music at, and links to socials so that you can connect with us.
Cool. Well, that's great.
I was just thinking, if other churches are looking to write their own songs, you're just talking about local churches writing songs, where would they start? Like, are there some resources online, or can they contact people like you to come out and do a workshop, or where would they start to pull some people together from ground zero?
Yeah, well, we haven't created any like online resources yet. We were talking about that yesterday, actually. We love coming out and doing workshops and serving churches in that way. And it's something great about being there with the people, because then you can, they can go, here's my idea, and we can give, real life feedback and that sort of thing. So yeah, we love it.
Cool. Oh well, look forward to like maybe a telecast soon where you can start gathering churches together and imparting some info, maybe, or that'd be good.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that'd be. I reckon that'd be like absolutely awesome for churches, because I think sometimes when you've got a gift and you've also got a concentration of people with those gifts, it's really awesome to be able to like share that with other churches so that they can explore that area too. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming today, and we're so pleased to have you guys here and to share some of your journey, especially with the new album and the pressure.
Yeah, no, it's great having you two along and sharing so much wisdom. I've learned so much today about Dayspring, and I look forward to many more albums that are going to come out now that that everyone's in isolation, busy writing away.
That's it. Yeah. 7 albums from the isolation. You've got till next week, Joel, to have them out.
One a week.
So thanks again, guys.
Yes, guys. So appreciate your time and yeah.
It's been great. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.